All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Toastmasters meeting for this week. It is November 10th. We are at our regular 7:45 Tuesday meetings on Zoom. The club mission. The mission of a Toastmasters club is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Let's hear it for our mission.
Yay.
Yay.
I see we do have a guest tonight. Deborah, thank you for
Hello.
joining us tonight.
Thank you for
Do you
inviting.
care to, what's that?
I said thank you for the invitation from Bob.
Sure.
Yay, Bob.
Hey.
You maybe introduce yourself and kind of talk about what brought you out tonight.
Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Bob's doing some work for me and my clients, and I live up here in Iowa City. I'm from Iowa City, and I've been down the path of education in the past and decided, about 6-7 years ago, I would become a realtor, do something different. So that's what I do, and I sometimes have clients that have big needs. And so that's how I got hooked up with Bob, and he thought that I would enjoy tuning into his session.
Good.
So I'm looking forward to it very much.
Good.
I'm glad to hear it.
Very good.
Coming.
With that, I believe we can get the meeting started. And with that, I'll pass it off to our Toastmaster for tonight, who is me.
Ah.
So thank you. We'll start with our meeting roles for tonight, starting with the timer. Jean Symington Craig. Jean, would you care to talk about your role and what you'll be doing for us tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Tonight we will be having a speech. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. My job as timer is to time certain key segments of the meeting to make sure that we are staying on time and that content and delivery is happening within the desired times and requested times. Our speaker will be speaking from 5 to 7 minutes. And here we go. At 5 minutes, I am going to put on this green light. At 6 minutes, I'll put on the yellow light. And at 7 minutes, I'll put on the red light, and then he'll have 30 seconds to finish up. When we get to our table topics, impromptu sessions, those are 1 to 2 minute impromptu speeches. At 1 minute, I will turn on the green light. At 1.5 minutes, I'll turn on the yellow light. And at 2 minutes, I'll turn on the red light. And then you have 30 seconds, up to 30 seconds to complete before you're disqualified. We'll also have 2 evaluators, a speech evaluator and a table topics evaluator. Those are 2 to 3 minute speeches or presentations. At 2 minutes, I'll turn on the green. At 2.5 minutes, I'll turn on the yellow. And at 3 minutes, I'll turn on the red. And again, you'll have up to 30 seconds after that before you're disqualified. I will time a couple of other segments as well, and I will give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Timer. Next, we'll hear from our grammarian, Carmen Antacona. Take it away, Carmen.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmasters and honored guests. As grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay close attention to all the speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I take note of any improper language, as well as any outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. For today's meeting, the word is retrospective. It's an adjective, and it means concerned with or related to the past. A sentence with retrospective is sometimes we need to look back and take a retrospective view of our lives in order to determine our future. And I will give my report at the end of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian. Next is our counter, who for tonight is me. I will talk about what the counter is and what I'll be doing. The purpose of the counter is to note words and sounds that are considered a crutch or filler words by anyone who speaks. These are words such as well, so, you know, like, but, or repeats, false starts, stuff like that. I will note when the speakers use these, and then I will give a report at the end of the meeting for how many I've tallied up with each speaker. And yeah, I'll give a report at the end. Thank you. We will also later on hear from our general evaluator, Carmen Anticona, and our joke master, Bob Fogle. That will be at the end of the meeting. Now I'd like to move on to the prepared speech section of tonight's meeting. To start us off, we'll hear from our speech evaluator, Art Atkinson, to read the objectives of the speech. Take it away, Art.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Can you hear me all right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Bob is doing a project in presentation mastery entitled Introduction to Toastmaster Mentoring. The purpose of the project is for him to clearly understand how the Toastmasters organization envisions mentoring and to distinguish it from coaching, and to give us a speech in which he shares some aspect of a experience that he's had in his life as a protege of someone in a mentoring situation. This is a 5 to 7 minute speech.
Okay.
Next, we will have our speaker, Bob Fogle. Bob has 3 children and 3 grandchildren. He enjoys the outdoors, and although his work calls him to be outside, he still takes every opportunity to go hiking, walk his dog, and ride his Harley. He runs his own business, Fogle Basement Repair, repairing all your basement needs, and has been serving his customers for the last 28 years. Please join me in welcoming Bob with his speech, Out of the Black and Into the Blue. Take it away, Bob.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, and our viewers at home, and our honored guests this evening. As it was stated, my project is about being a protege with mentors, and I picked this out of the black and into the blue. They say every man has a breaking point. Screaming and yelling was nothing new. You see, when you're in a relationship, a marriage relationship, and everything's centered around drinking, partying, and all that lifestyle, fighting, it just comes along with it. But that day, everything changed in an instant. I'll get back to that in just a moment. I found myself banging on this door. You see, I'd heard about a meeting they are having at this place, and what this meeting was involved, as there was an old rock star. I called him a rock star, but he was just a local drummer from a local rock band. And his name was Randy. And he was holding a little meeting with some interesting people at his house. Matter of fact, one of these guys, his name is Gary Bortz. When I walked into this meeting, they were actually having a little powwow, kind of talk about this, that, and the other. Well, come to find out about this Gary Bortz, he's an ex-bootlegger / gangster / bad guy, all the way around bad guy. And so I was in the presence of these people, and I kind of hang around these individuals kind of growing up a little bit. So I kind of knew these people, so I felt actually somewhat comfortable around them. But the difference being, as when I met Gary, he was preaching out of the Word of God. He was actually reading the Bible. And I thought that was kind of strange, but that was one of the reasons I came, because I was in a bad place in my life. You see, these people gathering here, they all came out of abusive relationships. They were either abused or they were an abuser. They had problems with either drinking or drugs or whatever their problems might be at that time. And they found themselves in past mistakes. And so when they were gathering together, Gary was trying to encourage them. And that's why I crashed this meeting, because I needed some encouragement. See, my emotions, they were raw at the time. And I was in a lot of pain. I felt desperate for change. Back to what I was sharing earlier, that very day that everything changed in an instant. My spouse had come to me and confessed that she was in an affair. And when that happened, it was like the day I was born, stripped naked for all to see. And I was grasping and grasping with nothing to behold. It was emptiness. So when Gary started with that meeting and he was sharing about different things, I found some interest in them because they had all been hurt too in different ways. As he opened up the Word of God to me and to all around, he asked me this question, because I was new at this, although I kind of grew up in a Catholic thing, but I didn't know nothing about this. He asked me, Mom, will you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior? And I thought for a moment, it's kind of weird, but I said, sure, I will, because I tried about everything else. But this is where the trouble really began. He said, when he read, that I had to forgive. I would sooner poke my eye out than forgive anybody. I was ready to poke somebody else's eye out. That's how mad I was, as you can understand. But somewhere deep inside of me, as my head hanging down low, quiet, I mustered up something. And all I could get out was, I forgive. When I said those words, it was instant relief. What I mean by instant relief is I felt like a freight train had been lifted off of me. I had transformed into something I didn't even know existed in this world. Well, Gary and those around me, they saw the transformation in me. Gary, he invited me to a men's breakfast and share a little bit about what had happened in my life. And I spoke for a few minutes, just kind of like this evening, maybe 5 to 7 minutes. And then one thing led to another, and Gary was kind of impressed with the situation. And so he asked me to share at another breakfast. And before you know it, I was sharing at not only his breakfasts, but lunches and other meetings that were kind of going around. he opened up the door for me to go to Fogle Businessman Fellowship International, at which time I became an officer. And more doors opened. And before you know it, I was speaking in front of hundreds of people. It was an exciting time. What the great opportunity that came through that situation is that I eventually became a speaker, a teacher in my church and different places. And the nice part about it is once I was growing in that situation, believe it or not, old Bob, I became an ordained minister. The benefit of becoming an ordained minister was I had the privilege of marrying my own son and his daughter in front of everybody. And the people that knew me prior to this, they kind of chuckled, thinking, old Bob, old partier Bob, back alley biker Bob, he's out there preaching. But anyways, it was a good time for me, and everybody took me for the new Bob. So as I reflect back to those days, those challenging days, I found out that my self-imposed prison that I had set up for myself, I held the key just by acceptance and forgiveness. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.
Madam Timer, will you please give us 2 minutes to evaluate the speaker?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could you just go over how that works for Deborah?
Oh, are we expecting her to evaluate Bob as well?
Yeah, she can
Okay.
give him comments. Sure.
So we have 2 minutes to evaluate Bob's speech, the topic, his presentation of it, body language, vocal variety, whatever you noticed during his speech, maybe obviously what he did well, maybe something he could do different next time or room for improvement.
Okay. Did you want?
And you want to put that in as a private chat
Oh,
to
yeah.
Bob. So down below on your Zoom, if you don't know, are not familiar with this, down below, there's some places where you see chat down below?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I don't talk it. I write it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But when you click on that chat box, what comes up is something that you'll send to everyone, but there's a down arrow. And
Yep.
if you click on that, you'll see Bob. So you just send it privately to Bob. Yeah.
Okay.
Only Bob
Okay.
needs to see it.
Oh,
Particularly if you're
I
yelling
like
at Bob.
nice things to everybody.
Yeah.
No, I will start writing then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
Instruction.
Okay. Mr. Toastmaster, time is up.
Thank you. Art, are you ready to evaluate?
Do I press file then?
You just hit your enter. Just hit enter, and it should
Done.
go right
Thank
to
you.
Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right. With that, I'd like to call upon Bob's evaluator for tonight, Art Atkinson, to give his speech evaluation.
A great deal of this project is focused on helping the new Toastmaster understand the distinction between mentoring, coaching, and being a protege of a mentor. The distinction that Toastmasters makes between mentoring and coaching is that mentoring is more of culturing a personal development process in the mentee or protege, whereas coaching is a very focused process of developing a particular skill in the coachee. So Bob is very accurately with this speech chosen to speak about a case in which he was a protege of someone who had a major influence on his personal development. This gentleman, Gary, whom he was introduced to, was a certified bad guy. Drinking, violence, crime. And yet, this is the same man who introduced him to the Word of God and who was organizing meetings for similar people who came out of abusive criminal situations, who were looking for inspiration. This man was a source of mentoring for these folks, and he identified Bob as needing the value that he could provide by way of being a mentor. It sounds like it was an unintentional choice on Bob's part, but he went where he found value. His gestures throughout the speech were very accurate. I particularly liked his illustration of the prison that he had created for himself, in which he held the key. That was the best gesture of all, but there were gestures throughout, specifically when his spouse told him that she was engaged in an affair, how his whole reality crumbled and he stood naked before the world, feeling completely stripped bare. If he were doing this speech again, I would suggest a little bit tighter description at the beginning of walking into the meeting of these bad guys with Randy and being introduced to Gary, the certified king of bad guys. I would just tighten that up so that the rest of the speech could be delivered a little bit more slowly. That would be my recommendation. And there are a few grammatical changes that I would suggest. Otherwise, it was a brilliant discussion of mentee or protege. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. With that, I believe we will. Oh wait, do we ask if the speaker qualified, right? Or is that later on? I don't see it in the agenda.
If we do that later or after we do all the
Oh, I think
speakers, which speakers
I
qualified.
think we were supposed to do it before the evaluation.
Yeah, but that's all right because we don't have a vote today.
Okay.
We don't have any speakers that qualified today.
Thank you. With that, I believe we will move on to the table topics portion of our meeting, and so I will pass it off to our table topics master, Jean Symington Craig, to run that section.
Thank you. I'm going to try not to get so engrossed that I forget to time. So we'll try to make that work here. Let's see. All right.
You did that to yourself. So.
I love trying to multitask. All righty. Tonight's theme is turning the corner. A synonym idea for this is changing direction, making a change, a difference, going someplace new. With that, I'm going to, just as a reminder, and is it Deborah? Is that? Okay, very good. Deborah, you're invited to attend if you step up and do one as well. These are impromptu 1 to 2 minute speeches. You want to go for at least the green on because that means you've made it at 1 minute. And you need to be pulling it down. If you get to the red and it's, because you have 30 seconds after the red, you have up to 30 seconds at the beginning just to think quietly about composing your answer before you actually start and the timer starts. All of the questions will be around our theme tonight. And we can start with members and then we'll just go from there. So if you are feeling like you might want to try, you can see how it's done and then you can do it or not do it. It's completely up to you. Yeah. All righty. So who is my first volunteer? Someone we haven't heard from yet. Someone who is very close to me, actually.
Actually, on my screen, I'm 2 away, but.
On my screen, I'm right on top of you. So,
Well,
yeah,
that sounds good.
yeah.
I'm going to say that I am the evaluator. So
Oh, that's right. You are the evaluator.
I shouldn't start out doing table topics.
Okay. All right. So, yes, I'm looking at Carmen. Thank you, Carmen. And I have several questions here and I can repeat. 1 through 4. Which one would you like?
4.
4. We're going to look at the quote at the top of the agenda today. It's by J.R.R. Tolkien, the Hobbit master. Still round the corner there may wait a new road or a secret gate. What does that remind you of? Sometime in your life?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. This quote reminds me of the day that I decided to come here to Fairfield. After living for so many years, maybe 20 years in California, I decided to move from there to here. At the beginning, they told me that it was be very difficult and I have to think about it. And I'm not really afraid of going alone, or I was thinking, yes, I'm going to experience something different. So I said, yes, let's go for it. And it was a really, really big difference. I came to a small town from a very big city with almost no one that I met here, unless it was my boss that hired me. New people here, new kind of neighborhoods, small town. And there was a way that I could handle, even though it takes time in my life, that I could handle it to still be here after more than 3 years. And I remember that at the very beginning I said, maybe I'm not gonna even be here for 1. But now after 3 years, I said, oh my God, I made it. My son is here. My son is studying. I'm still in the same work. And really, even though it was hard, it was worthy. It was the experience of my life, and I don't regret it. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Mother table topics.
Yeah. Okay, let me just jot that down. Okay, very good. All righty. So Carmen has warmed us up there. Who would like to go next? Da, 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 da. Aaron. Okay. All righty. Aaron, 1, 2, or 3?
2.
Righty. Tell us about a time you turned a corner and with hindsight, wish you hadn't. Wished you had kept going straight.
Hello, Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. There was a time in my life where I didn't really know what I was passionate about. I didn't really even know what it really meant to be passionate about something. This was around the time when I went from middle school to high school. And my whole life I'd always played sports. And to be frank, I was never very good at it. I played baseball, soccer, I tried golf, and I was terrible at all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball too, I was really bad. And I really didn't want, I was trying to look for something different, but I didn't really know what else that was really available to me. And so I kind of waffled a little bit, and my parents said, well, you got to have some extracurricular activity. So I said, all right, fine, I'll do soccer. And then over the summer I did that. I hated it. I couldn't, it was much more competitive at high school, and I couldn't keep up to their level. So I quit before the season began and school started. And then I joined golf instead. And again, I didn't really do very good there. And I wish that, you know, in the back of my mind, I was thinking maybe I should try theater or focus on speech or something else, something different. My parents convinced me that, well, that's, you know, that's not what guys do. That's what sissies do, kind of thing. And so it's one of those things that in hindsight, I wish I just ignored them and just kept on doing what I wanted to do instead of trying to conform to what they thought a guy should be doing, because the sports just weren't working for me. And as many of you know, once I did start doing the theater, it was one of the greatest experiences I ever had. And I probably wouldn't be staying in this room right now doing Toastmasters if not for it. So I wish I got started sooner. Thank you for the question.
Right. Who is next? Let's see. Who's next? Who's next?
You.
So we go from volunteering to voluntold if we don't. Okay, there's Art. Art. All right.
Question number 1.
Now, you know, Art, I remember last time you decided what question was going to be given regardless of what number was chosen.
I chose number 1, so I have no idea what you're going to give me.
Right. Okay. Well, I like to try to stick to the randomness of number choosing. I will give you number 1. Art, when you're getting ready to turn the corner, do you lean more towards lots of advanced planning for every possible outcome? Or do you decide that the future is unknown, so you'll figure it out as you go? Mm.
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. I have actually used both of those strategies in different situations.
Mhm.
At one point, I was working for Shell Development Company in California, very close to the foot of the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge, in a highly technical position. And I got offered a transfer to go to Houston, Texas, where I had no idea what life was like in Houston. And I figured the Bay Area was the only reasonable place to live, and I should reject the offer of a transfer, all expenses paid, and stick around in the Bay Area where I could sail sailboats. It was just a mecca. Everything that I wanted was available in San Francisco Bay Area. But the man who made the offer said one sentence to me, and I threw caution to the wind and said, "Oh, heck, I'll do it." And I went to Houston. I ended up meeting my first wife there and having life-changing experiences. And I used all the powers that I could to deduce whether it was wise to do the thing that I wanted to do, which was head off as a hippie to live on the land in the mountains of Western Oregon and take my new fiance with me in a fully loaded Volkswagen Beetle. And I analyzed every aspect of that and only did it once I had figured out that there was no way to lose. And it turned out great also. Thank you. Very, very delightful to revisit those decisions.
Okay. All right. This background does not know what to do with my hair. It just does not know how to. I feel like I'm in a wind tunnel the whole time. All right, we have more for fun-loving impromptuers.
So Jean, am I allowed
Yes.
to speak, or is Deborah gonna, or Dan, or?
Well, if you ask nicely, even though you have already given a speech, so technically we put you at the end of the possibles,
Mhm.
but I'm not getting, Dan is evaluating
Okay.
and everyone else is gone and Deborah's just enjoying the show. So I'm going to, you've got your mute on, Deborah, but that's okay.
Okay. So I could jump in and try.
Do you, Bob, you want to relinquish your spot?
Oh, Bob, I thought you were saying he couldn't go.
Well, you would get preference because you haven't spoken and
Maybe
we'll do
I
that.
don't to. Maybe you don't want me to.
Well, no. It's always like getting up on a diving board and just jumping off and seeing what happens. So you want to try it? If you're up for it, it's no
Let's
biggie.
try. Let's try.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're all supporting you here. Well, we have one more. Here's the question. Now remember, you're looking for the green light that skates you past, and then the red light you want to be, if you get there, you're going to want to stop or pull it to a conclusion. All righty. Looking back on your life retrospectively, when did you turn a corner and, looking back, realized it was one of the best moves you ever did?
Hmm.
And you can take up to 30 seconds to think about it. And okay.
Okay. I believe that when I first had a chance to move away from my hometown, which was Iowa City, I was in my late 20s, married, had a son, then 6 or 7 years old, and my husband got a job out by Lake Tahoe in Nevada. And I was excited to move, but I was very sad, and I pined for what I thought I would miss so much: family, what was familiar. And I remember we had a big U-Haul and driving across on Interstate 80, and we hit Wyoming, and such a vivid memory of, it was about noontime and it was time to grab a bite to eat from our picnic basket, and I crawled up and just laid out on a picnic table there and just cried and cried and cried, because I already felt so lonely that I had made the wrong decision to leave what I knew. And by the time that I went through the experience of actually leaving and getting to experience a brand new place, even though that particular move only lasted a year before we came back, but it was still something that I didn't regret. I had such trepidation about the change that then turned out to be fulfilling. And a part of me thought, I have an advantage. I have such an advantage over those who have been more secluded in their experiences, I guess is a way to put it. So that's that. I don't
Okay.
see green light or red light. Oh, there's a yellow one. That's the first light I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're good. You're good. All right. Okay. All right. Let me just jot that down. All right. So where are we on time, Mr. Toastmaster? We can do more if we need.
We would have time for one more quick one or we could just move on. We're kind of at that point.
Well, I would be doing a wild card at this point, because those are more my questions, and I could just have somebody, maybe Bob. Bob really wanted to go. He's all juiced up now from giving his speech and everything. So, all right, can we do that? Do we have time for that?
They didn't qualify this time.
Okay. All right, so here we go. Bob, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. How about we do, I want to end on maybe a positive note. So I won't make you go down the path, turn the corner, and then wish you hadn't had to turn the corner.
Okay.
All right. I think I'm curious about this for Bob, so I'm going to give him this question again.
Okay.
When you're getting ready to turn the corner, do you lean more towards lots of advanced planning to think out how each outcome might happen and what you would do? Or do you lean more towards deciding that the future is unknown and you'll just figure it out as you go after you turn the corner?
Well, thank you for the question. I typically lean on doing the unknown and see what's going to happen. Case in point, yesterday I did a job at Cedar Rapids, and the lady, her foundation, about 16 foot of wall, all caved in. And it was splattered all over the floor. And so the house was kind of hanging like that. And typically, most people would just walk away because they don't know what's going to happen. And the engineer was there before, and he was frantic, and he was like, you got to set Josh, you got to do this, that, and the other. And it's not that I don't know the risk, because I do know the risk. I mean, the house can fall out of my head and I can squish like a bug. But I like that challenge, and I don't always want to get into it. So it's one of those deals, I got to take this scoop of dirt out, or that stone, move that, and making sure that those floor joists aren't coming down, and taking out more walls to collapse and fall on guys or fall on myself. So I kind of got a vague plan that when I go in there that I want to live. And so I kind of go. And other than that, I do take some risk, and I'll stick a jack here and a jack there and stuff like that. But I like that challenge. It's just something about it it just excites me. I just like that. So that when I get back and get done, I like hearing the customer or other things. You know, Bob, he's fearless, man. He gets right in there and he just gets right after it. And he does it. And everybody's all, yay. So that builds my ego as a man, I'm sure. But yeah, that's how I like to approach life. And that's how I approach my jobs. Thank you for the question.
Yay, Bob. All right, well, I will now turn it back over to our Toastmaster to hand off to our general evaluator. Oh, or should I hand off to the table topics evaluator? No, first we need.
Oh, for best speaker.
Yeah, and find out who qualified.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Good. All
Can you
right.
explain what the qualified term means?
That means, you remember green was at 1 minute, yellow was 1.5 minutes, red was at 2 minutes, and then you have 30 seconds after that, after that red light goes on to finish up. If you go past that 30 seconds, you're disqualified.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's what that means. All right, for table topics, let's see. Carmen, All right, all of the table topics qualified, and that would be Carmen, Aaron, Art, Deborah, and Bob. So now what we want to do is we can vote, and the way we do that is Aaron is our Toastmaster. So in the chat, you pull up your chat and you send a private message to Aaron just saying who you thought ought to be the winner for the night. You can vote for yourself, but you can't vote more than once for yourself. Okay, and while you're sending those in, excuse me, to Aaron, we can go ahead and I will hand off now to the table topics evaluator, Dan Craig.
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. Are you also the general evaluator?
No, but let me just ask you, how much, you have 5 people to?
The schedule says 3 to 5. I think that's probably about right. Maybe that's too long, but.
Well, it's probably the template. So should we do 3 to 4 or do you want 3 to 5? Whoops.
Let's do 3 to 5.
Okay, it's a lot. All
If
right.
I don't use it, I'll give it back.
Well, if you come in under time, okay, we'll figure it out. All right.
All right. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. It was an interesting table topic session tonight. Our first speaker was Carmen, and she was asked about the quote by Tolkien that a new road or a secret gate might be waiting around the corner, what that reminded her of. And Carmen told us about being in California and making the decision to take a new road to come out to the little town of Fairfield after living in a big city in California. It was interesting the way she told it, that she generally isn't afraid of trying new things. She's not afraid to try things alone, but she wasn't sure if it was going to work out. She said that after 3 years, she was really glad that she had done it. She had a good work situation. She had her son living here. So what I particularly liked about Carmen's talk is that she told us in anecdotal form how this resonated with her, and it was very effective as a talk. I thought one thing that Carmen could have done to expand on the story would be to strike a few more contrasts between life in the big city and life in the small town. That would have been interesting, but good job. Aaron was our next speaker, and his question was, sometime that you turned a corner but wish you hadn't, wish you'd gone straight. He greeted the audience, which was good. He told us about middle school, high school age when he was trying various sports and how they all, one after another, really weren't working out totally. We know how good Aaron has turned out to be in the dramatic arts, in theater, and it's interesting that it took him a while to get there. So that was fun just to hear his kind of self-deprecating humor about this sport didn't work and that sport didn't work. I thought the one thing that didn't quite fit was that the way you answered the question wasn't quite in the same framework that the question was about making a change and wishing you had it. It was actually the other. You didn't make the change and you wished you had. But it had the contrast value. So it was still a good talk and we enjoyed it. Then Art. I'll give you a retrospective on what Art was telling us. He greeted the audience. He was asked if typically he liked to plan things when changes were coming or if he liked to just dive in. That's paraphrasing. I thought it was interesting that he talked about going from the Bay Area, being offered oh boy, I'm getting quite an echo all of a sudden. Getting the offer to relocate to Houston. And as somebody who has lived in Houston, I could understand your reluctance to make that change. The one thing that I really wanted to hear, Art, that I didn't hear in your talk was, what was the one sentence the guy said to you that made you decide to do this?
Yeah.
You said, he said one sentence, and we're all leaning forward, and we never heard what it was. And then I thought the thing about going to Oregon as a hippie, that really was the other side of the question, but somehow it just seemed kind of tacked on there really quick. Maybe it could have been a little smoother, but fun, all in all fun. Then there was Deborah, asked if there was a time in her life when you realized that making a change turned out to be something really good. I'm sorry if that's my audio messing up there, but.
There's no problem. I'm not hearing anything.
Oh yeah, well, it's terrible for me. So that's why I'm going to run over. Let's see. Deborah talked about moving from Iowa City, which is where she was from, making the big move with her family out to Lake Tahoe. It was really quite effective to talk about the trip there and pulling out the picnic basket in Wyoming and just crying because it was just, she knew it was going to be a big mistake. I particularly liked at the end that you had a takeaway, a lesson that you realized after you'd gone through that you had an advantage over people who had remained more sheltered. I don't think I have a good suggestion for you. I really enjoyed the talk. Thanks. And then finally, there was Bob talking about the same question that Art had, if he'd like to just dive in. And of course, Bob just likes to dive in. He had some great humor. I particularly like that he had the one goal of living through the experience. I would have liked to hear just even more in the mechanics of how you approach some of these jobs. That would have been fascinating. But thanks for the nice talk.
All right.
The sentence was, aren't you a bit young to let myopia set in?
Thank you. But still, Houston.
And it was 1970.
Well, at least it was a little cool back then.
Madam Timer, which of our evaluators qualified?
We had no qualifying evaluators tonight.
All right. With that, we will move on to our general evaluator to do the post-meeting reports. And that would be Carmen Antacona. Take it away, Carmen.
Jean, could you give us the report for the timer, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Bob, our speaker for the evening, was 7 minutes and 33 seconds. So 3 seconds over. If he hadn't said thank you at the end, I think he might have been okay, but there it is. Art was 3 minutes and 40 seconds over. Close. Carmen, now we get into table topics. Carmen was 2 minutes. Aaron was 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Art was 2 minutes and 29 seconds. Deborah was 1 minute and 35 seconds. Bob was 1 minute, 58 seconds. Our table topics evaluator, Dan, 6 minutes and 2 seconds. And that's my report.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Agenda grammarian for today. And Jean and Dan used the retrospective. Really good job. And I have a list of quotes from the speech. When Bob says, everything changed in an instant. Other one is, could you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior? And I have the privilege of marrying my own son and daughter. I really like the way that Deborah, our guest, she was describing in the prompting speech a little bit of geography, like Lake Tahoe, that is in Nevada, the cities. It was a little bit of remind how it's going to there and then drive it. It was really good. And that's my report for today. Aaron, could you give us the report for the counter, please?
Sure. Jean had 1 so, 2 ands, and 3 alrighties. Dan, 3 ahs, 2 buts, and 1 repeat. Art, 1 repeat. Carmen, 1 and, 1 kinda. Bob, 1 ah, 1 well, 2 so's, 4 ands, and a yeah. Deborah had 1 one and, couple tongue clicks. So she'd go like during her, during her speech, and one okay. And that is my report. Back to you,
Thank you.
Madam General Evaluator.
So we are having a joke master for today's bot Fogle.
Yeah.
What do you call a one-legged woman? Eileen. What did the fish say when he swam into a wall? Damn. What is Forrest Gump's email? One Forrest one.
One Forest one.
One. You ever seen Run Forrest Run? It's one Forrest one. One Forrest one. Anyways, you have to me. Anyways, on with this one. Did you hear about the guy who invented the knock knock joke? He won the Nobel Prize.
Oh,
Very good.
very good.
That's good.
That's my joke for this evening.
All right.
Thank you, Bob. So, Aaron, let's go back to the meeting awards. No, I'm the general evaluator, right?
Right.
Yes.
You
Okay,
get.
okay. All right. So I'm just gonna evaluate the evaluators. I'm gonna start with Art. Art gave us a good citation of the project's goal, referring to Bob's speech. He was starting with a positive review about the content and how the content linked with the goal of the project. There was a good summary of the whole speech, and the suggestions were about the meaning of the bad guys. But at the same time, I suggest that if you can give us a couple of examples about what do you mean when you say the meaning of the bad guys. So are you referring in a attitude or like in descriptive personal or something that maybe what they were thinking? Also, I would like to hear a little bit more about the vocal variety of the speech and the facial expressions, the use of the space around the scenario that is in the proximity of Bob. For Dan, you were writing every single question for every table topics, which is really good because it reminds us what the front of the speech was about. You give a good summary of the speech, and my suggestion is the same because it is good to talk about the content, but at the same time, we want to just try to improve our facial expressions or maybe our hands. When there are in front of the speech, sometimes we are just thinking about the ideas and we just forget to use the local variety or the vocal variety or your hands to describe things that maybe can bring more attention to the audience. But overall, both of you are great evaluators, and it was a great job. Thank you.
Now I'd like to get, what's that?
So back to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. As Toastmaster, I'd like to do the awards for tonight's meeting. And we had one award for Best Table Topics. And the winner for that is, drum roll, Carmen.
Woo, Carmen! Yay! Woo.
Thank you, thank you.
And with that, I will pass it off to myself as the president to close out the meeting. I have a few announcements. Officer train, let's see. Oh, right. Based on last week's officer meeting where we talked about new, I guess I'd say, recruitment strategies or other ways of getting our marketing, I guess, club marketing techniques. We have a follow-up meeting to that on Thursday. Have we confirmed that? Can everyone meet on Thursday at 8 o'clock?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, then I'll send the Zoom link out.
Excellent. Then this will probably be the last time that I'll announce this, but just once more, the free path for everyone who has paid for their dues for the next 6 months gets a free path. If you just go into the pathways and basically start a new path, it will automatically get charged because of the fact that you paid for your dues for the next 6 months, and you won't be charged for it. And then you can just sit on that path indefinitely. It's good forever once you get it, but I think it's only good for the next. I think you have to get it before March.
You have to pay your dues by December 31st.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has already paid their dues, so I think we're all good there.
It was renewals. If you renewed,
Yeah.
of course,
Okay.
a new member gets a free path anyway, but
Sure, yeah.
we will each be able to get another path because we were
Okay.
all renewals.
Yeah, I guess that's a good distinction.
Art,
I got one.
good.
Humorous engagement.
Yeah.
About
Awesome.
real serious me.
All right. It's never too late to get funny.
They sent out officer training times. Did everyone see those? I think the District 19 sent them out.
Yeah.
I think there's,
Yes.
the first one is, actually they're spread out pretty far. November 14th from 9 to 11 a.m. That's on a Saturday. So that's actually this Saturday. And then December 3rd on a Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. January 16th on a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then the last one is Wednesday, January 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. As I'm sure you all know, having all of our officers trained is part of our DCP goals. And so it's important that all officers attend one of these training sessions. Has everyone seen this email?
I don't remember, but
Yes.
Aaron, are they asking for people to register ahead of time?
Yeah. I believe they are, yes.
Okay.
And I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. Is I believe in the email there was a way to register for the training, and I think that's what they're asking.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think Aaron, I'll just say that on the district19.me website, which is our district website, you can look at the calendar and see which divisions are holding those trainings. So for example, Division Z, which is our division, is the one that's on December 3rd from 6 to 8. But because we're doing everything remotely, you really can go to whatever you want. It seems like it's nice to support ours, but it's not required if it's not
Yeah.
convenient.
I didn't even realize that that was what they were doing. I thought it was just they were all District 19 because in the email it doesn't say what division is doing that.
Well, I know the Division Z, I will just say that the first training in the fall was a district-wide, and then they had makeups at the division level. But Mary Schulte, our division director, said that this time it was just going to be in the divisions, and maybe they'll have a Division Z makeup somewhere down the way. But I'll look at the email. But so it all
Well,
works.
I need to bow out. I have a 9 o'clock call to make, but I
Oh,
wanted
sure.
to thank
Okay.
Bob for inviting me and thank all of you for letting me be entertained and
Yeah.
educated. So thanks
Yeah.
very much.
Well,
Please
yeah,
come
thank
visit
you.
us again.
Thank
The
you very
same
much.
link.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
it's the same link, and if you want to come back and visit, we'd love to have you, and you can follow up with Bob, afterwards. So
Okay.
enjoy the rest of your evening. We really enjoyed you.
Thank you all so much.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
That's all the announcements I have.
Mhm.
Does anyone have anything else?
We
No,
could
I'm-
actually stop at 9.
No, I'm just working in the link site for the Toastmasters.
Oh, LinkedIn.
Hopefully it's gonna be ready on Thursday. I will let you know.
I'll
Okay,
go
we'll
ahead and
say
stop
goodbye
it.
to our viewers at home. Goodbye, viewers at home. Everybody wave.
It's
Bye.
like Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Valve.
Yeah.